We just got wrapped up riding the 2022 Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. Now this is what Ducati is calling the sportiest sport tour that it has ever delivered. Now of course, the basis of this model is the standard Multistrada V4, but of course Ducati has given it a number of sport-inspired variations to increase performance out on the open road. Now that said, the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak is powered by the same 1158cc Gran Turismo V4 power plant that we've become so fond of. For reference, on the Cycle World dyno, it made 144 horsepower and 78 pound-feet of torque when we last had the standard model. Now that's impressive, and you feel the Ducati's racing DNA out in the twisties on the open road when we really open it up. But truly, the most remarkable and impressive aspect of the Gran Turismo package is just how flexible and how tractable it is in all different scenarios. Now out running around in the twisties, the Multistrada loves to be revved high in the RPMs and really lays down a super bike-like power delivery, but it's equally as happy running at low RPMs and cruising from stoplight to stoplight in just about every scenario. I find myself short shifting the Multistrada, running at low RPM, taking off from stoplights in second or even third gear with absolutely zero issue. And that really kind of sums up just how flexible it is in all scenarios. Now, speaking of cruising, on California highway speeds about 85 miles an hour, the Multistrada V4 cruises along about 5,500 RPM in a relatively vibration-free manner that's very, very comfortable. Ducati has always done a phenomenal job of its electronic ride-by-wire system, creating a very direct and visceral feel through the right wrist, but yet it's still very natural and very engaging out on the road. It doesn't feel numb like some of the other manufacturers have done with that ride-by-wire system. Now, with the Multistrada Pikes Peak, this is the first Multistrada to ever utilize a selectable race mode along with the other three settings: urban, touring, and sport. Now, what does the race mode entail? It has a more direct throttle response and different parameters for its rev limiter and shifting functions. Now, the selectable ride modes and the rest of the Multistrada Pikes Peak electronic rider aids package is accessed via a 6.5-inch TFT display that's very easily readable and displays important riding information. Now, speaking of the electronic rider aids package, the Pikes Peak comes with 8 selectable levels of traction control, wheelie control, and 3 levels of ABS, along with 3 different power delivery settings. Now, truthfully, I found myself in the middle ground of all those settings. I like to have something to fall back on in terms of the DTC. I found myself in level 3, giving myself a little bit of a cushion to work with in terms of the Ducati's traction control. Now, the throttle response setting, I found myself most often than not in the medium power setting. Throttle response is just a touch softer than being in the full power delivery, and yet it still gives you the maximum power output of that higher setting. Now, out on the open twisties, that high power mode gives a very direct, connected feel to the rear tire, which can absolutely be utilized, but I found the medium more versatile, more flexible for all sorts of situations without hindering the sporting experience of really letting the Multistrada rip. Now, the Pikes Peak has obvious modifications to its chassis as well, most notably being the pair of 17-inch Marchesini forged aluminum rims, front and rear. Those, in comparison with a steeper steering angle, make the Multistrada Pikes Peak super agile out on the road. It feels more like a street fighter than it does so a Multistrada. It's very nimble on its feet, very precise getting it off into the corners, and steers very, very quickly. That's complemented by a slightly more aggressive ergonomic position than the base model Multistrada. The foot pegs have been raised up and back 10 millimeters to give it a slightly more aggressive lower stance to really utilize your leg muscles and manipulate the motorcycle and put it in places on the road very, very easily without being too cramped for the long haul. The handlebar as well is slightly narrower and lower in comparison to the base model Multistrada. That gives it just a slightly more aggressive reach, again without being too aggressive to become uncomfortable. Now, also unique to the Pikes Peak model is the semi-active Olin suspension with its Smart EC 2.0 system that's basically the same platform utilized on the Street Fighter V4S and Panigale V4S models. This system replaces the Ducati Skyhook that's seen on the basic Multistrada models. Now, this is an event-based system with 5 selectable settings that you can optimize its action to correspond with your riding style. Truthfully, I found myself using the medium setting again. The soft setting really allowed the motorcycle to dive over almost excessively when you get on the brakes, and it really kind of mutes the feelings and bump absorption happening underneath you, really kind of hindering your ability to understand what's happening at the contact patch of the tire. Now, the hardest setting, on the contrary, is overly stiff, pogos off the bumps and never quite settles down. I found that the medium setting was a good balance of the two, with a lot of small bump compliance, yet enough support to handle the big inputs like hard braking or big hits in imperfect asphalt. Braking componentry comes in form of top-shelf Superbike Brembo Stylema calipers clamping to 330mm discs. Ducati has fitted the Stylema calipers with a slightly more aggressive pad for more aggressive initial bite at the first pull of the brake lever. Now, truth be told, I was hoping for a little bit more aggression in this regard. Even when I was running off into corners, out in the twisties, I felt like I wanted to pull the lever and really get the motorcycle slowing down initially, but I still felt that it was a little bit on the soft side. Now, if there's one thing with the ergonomics package and the creature comforts with the Pikes Peak model, is its adjustable windscreen. I'm 5'7", I'm a small guy, and yet I still want more adjustability. I still want the windscreen to be slightly larger to reduce wind buffeting, especially cruising along the highway. I can only imagine for taller riders, it's gonna be worse than what I've experienced. Motorcycle technology has come a long way, and the Ducati Pikes Peak is fitted standard with Ducati's adaptive cruise and blind spot detection systems. Now, you can set it in multiple modes of holding distance from the vehicle in front of you. You set it to 80 miles an hour, you approach traffic doing 70 miles an hour, and the Pikes Peak will automatically release the throttle, slow down, and hold that distance. When it opens up and you have the opportunity to pass without even touching the throttle, you'll pull around and the Pikes Peak will accelerate by until another circumstance where it slows itself down. Now, there's other details that separate the Pikes Peak from the base model Multistrada. Now, most notably being the paint scheme inspired from Ducati's Desmos Adichie GP21 MotoGP race bike. Now, the paint scheme, in conjunction with other details like the carbon fiber bits scattered throughout the Pikes Peak, the dark smoke windscreen, and the titanium Akrapovic muffler with the carbon fiber tip, add to its premium fit and finish that you expect from Ducati's $28,995 price tag. In all of our testing of the Pikes Peak, I've found it to be a very comfortable yet super sporty variation of the Multistrada. I've honestly been calling it a spacious street fighter. It's more comfortable, has a bigger tank, it has the amenities that go for the long haul and go for sport touring, but when you want to go off into the twisties and really hammer it, it possesses that same DNA that you'd find in a Panigale or a Street Fighter, just to a slightly lesser degree. So if you're looking for a motorcycle that you want to go out and tackle those sporty sections, but want to have a flexible and more utilitarian package than an outright sport bike, the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak might be the motorcycle for you. Now that's it for our time aboard the 2022 Ducati Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak. I had a blast out here today, and I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, comment, we want to hear from you, and subscribe to the Cycle World YouTube channel. Head over to cycleworld.com to read the full story, and we'll see you guys next time.